UK fishing rights will remain in the hands of millionaires and foreign multinationals after Brexit, it has emerged. Fishing has been a contentious point in Brexit talks, with the UK highly critical of the EU's long-standing Common Fisheries Policy (CFP), which allows member states to fish in each other's waters based on a quota system set by the bloc. The EU's own mandate for trade talks says the UK and Brussels should fix a long-term deal on access to each other's waters in exchange for a free trade agreement (FTA), but the UK is pressing for annual talks to set those quotas, with the ability to block EU vessels if those discussions break down. France is one of many nations dependent on British fishing grounds, and before the negotiations even started, it was Emmanuel Macron's government who made it clear to the EU's chief negotiator Michel Barnier that he had to push for stronger commitments on regulatory alignments in return for maintaining free trade. 7 months later, and with less than 2 weeks until the transition period comes to an end, an agreement still appears far away. As many Brexiteers wonder whether a no-deal scenario could be the only way to get back control of British waters, a 2018 investigation reveals that even if there is no agreement struck between the EU and Britain, the majority of UK fishing rights will remain in the hands of a small domestic elite and a handful of foreign multinationals. The Fisheries Act, published in 2018, which sets the legal foundations for the UK's fishing industry after Brexit, does not see any redistribution of Britain's existing quota rights. The investigation published by Unearthed reads, more than two-thirds of the UK's fishing quota is controlled by just 25 businesses, and more than half of those are linked to one of the biggest criminal overfishing scams ever to reach the British courts. Meanwhile, in England nearly 80% of fishing quota is held by foreign owners or domestic rich list families, and more than half of Northern Ireland's quota is hoarded onto a single trawler. Half of England's quota is held on Dutch, Spanish, or Icelandic-owned flagships, so called because they sail under a British flag. One Dutch multinational alone controls around a quarter of English quota, the investigation found. By comparison, the UK's small-scale, inshore, vessels must fish from a pool of quota amounting to less than 2%, despite making up around 79% of the UK fishing fleet.